Hello, I'm Russell Sturgis. I'm the founder and principal of the Centre for Western Mindfulness. Welcome to the next instalment in the blog series that I'm doing this year on forgiveness. In today's blog, I'm going to be focusing on this concept of turning the other cheek. In 2011, I was in Paris and I had a couple of days before I was going to attend a conference at which I was speaking. And then shortly after the conference, I was going to commence walking the Camino de Santiago. As I was being a tourist in Paris, I came to a set of lights that I was about to cross. I was waiting for the pedestrian light to turn green. And next thing, a man sort of picked up what appeared to be a wedding band, a gold wedding ring, off the footpath. And he said, "Oh, excuse me, sir, is this yours?" And I explained, I said, no, it's not mine. And he said, "Oh, somebody must have dropped their wedding ring." He said, we're never going to find who's that is. He said, and then went on to explain that he was doing it a bit tough, and would I be interested in buying it? And long story short, I ended up giving him 30 or 40 euro, and I can't remember how much it was, for what looked like a real gold wedding band. And as the transaction was being completed and I'd given him the money and he'd given me the ring, the penny dropped that I was being conned. And so it was that moment that I had a choice. In that moment, I had a choice to react in terms of somebody having been taken. And of course, normally we react with assertiveness or anger at the person. Or I had a choice to turn the other cheek. And of course, turning the other cheek was about resisting the impulse for two things. One, to become aggressive towards this person who obviously had taken me for 30 or 40 euro, and to not feel a dick for having been taken, because it was very easy to do that. And of course, in this moment, I made the decision to turn the other cheek. And now, I've been presented with similar sorts of situations and I haven't always turned the other cheek, but sometimes it's a choice that I do make, and this was the choice that I made in this particular situation. And the place that I was able to go with this is that I remembered that it's not uncommon for me to often give people donations when I see people on the street, homeless people, or people that are struggling who are down and out. It's something that I've always done, and sometimes I can be very generous in my donation. It's not always 30 or 40 euro, but it could be, it could be $10 or it could be $5 that I give people, and that's something that I have consistently done throughout my life. And so, in turning the other cheek, I was able to take the events that had occurred and chose to see this as an opportunity for me to make a donation to somebody who needed this money in order to function and survive. Yes, I was conned out of it, but the reason he was doing it was because this is the only way that he could make a livelihood, or in his world, it was perceived that this is the only way that he could make a livelihood. So, if I'm prepared to give money to beggars and homeless people, why not gypsies? And so, look, I was embarrassed at what had happened, but I didn't stay angry, because as I talk about in the poem about turning the head a hand's breadth which is my explanation of turning the other cheek. By just turning my head a hand's breadth, I'm able to see what happened in that moment differently. And in fact, what I was able to do was to make a choice about how it was that I was relating. And that the choice that I made could be reflective of sustaining my inner peace, which was something that was important for me. I mean, here I was about to start a spiritual pilgrimage, and it sort of would have been, I think, important that I had this capacity to take this moment and bring this perspective to this experience. Nothing has a meaning other than the meaning we give it. And so the interesting thing is that I didn't actually have to do anything to change the event in order to change my experience around the event. And all I had to do was choose to see it differently. And now it didn't get me my 30 or 40 euro back, but it allowed me to see that I often, once again, give this money to other people, and I was able to give context to this in this particular situation. And this is what we call selective remembering. So in terms of forgiveness, one of the key components of successfully developing mercy and forgiveness as a way of life is this capacity to selectively remember. Now, the thing is, we're doing that all the time. We're selectively remembering the experience of life 24/7. The only thing is that for most of us, it's subconscious. And for most of us, what we're doing is we're projecting our programming, our subconscious narrative onto an experience and making the experience what it is based on the filters that we have from our history, from our past, from our programming. So we're selectively remembering everything that goes on in our life through those filters that are well established within our subconscious. Two people can have exactly the same experience, yet when asked to describe what had gone on, can have two very different versions of what it is that they experience. And this is about the fact that as I talk about the conundrum of the Welsh waterfall, this whole idea that you can be looking at the same thing and all it is a hand's breadth in terms of the turn of the head that meant that people were seeing something different. To be able to choose how you respond to an event as opposed to have it be a habitual response, you have to first become aware. So awareness is the ability to be able to observe the facts in terms of what's going on without giving any of it a meaning. It's coming to the place of being able to just stay the witness of the things that have gone on. And to have a tool to remember to do that is probably one of the most important things, because ultimately that's the hardest part about this, is remembering that you have a choice to do this differently. If you always do what you've always done, you always get what you've always got. And so you've got to have something that's going to remind you to approach this differently. In our program, Pathways to Mindfulness, one of the things that one of the mindfulness tools that we teach is an acronym called HALE, H-A-L-E. And this is one of the tools that I would recommend in this situation for turning the other cheek. H stands for HALT. And that is, before you respond in any way to what's going on, just stop and observe what's going on. Just observe the facts. So in the case of my experience in Paris, I'm in a foreign situation. I'm already sort of caught up with being in the attention of where I am and what's going on. This situation happened. I was presented with this. This money was taken, and I'm $30 or $40 short. I've got a bit of metal that's not gold, and somebody's happy because they've now earned in their particular way of earning at 30 or 40 euro. They're all of the facts in terms of what have gone on in that moment. I'm a bit embarrassed about what's gone on. I've realised I've been taken. He's obviously happy and going to wait for the next person to come along. Facts. Now, A is what's going to be the after effect if I, for example, make the choice to respond how I've always responded in these situations, which often would have been angry, or would have been to have become very assertive with the person once I realised and demanded my money back and taken me out of my peace. This guy's probably dealt with this stuff all the time in terms of had these experiences, and he knows how to deal with it in a way that's much more experienced than what I would be in terms of confrontation. Well, what would be the after effect if I turned the other cheek in terms of my own inner peace and being able to relate to what had happened in terms of seeing this as an opportunity to make a donation to serving somebody? So take a moment to consider what the after effect would be. L is what's the loving alternative? And of course, the loving alternative is taking that after effect if I made the loving choice. And so it's taking a moment to go, what's going to be better serving to me? You know, our definition of mindfulness in the Centre for Western Mindfulness is remembering in each moment that you have a choice to be kinder to yourself, to others, and to the planet. And so in this moment, the loving alternative that's about being kinder to myself and to this other person is to apply this principle of forgiveness, which in this case is turning the other cheek, choosing to see what's gone on differently. And then finally, taking the easiest option. And the easiest option is what it is that in this moment naturally arises within you in terms of how you choose to respond. Fortunately for me in that moment, as it was dealing with this person, I took the moment to be able to go, oh, I've just made a donation to somebody who is in need. And so I was able to relate to the experience in that way. The easiest option for us in another time and place might have been to become angry and assertive and demand the money back. But in this particular case, the easy option was to do something that sustained my inner peace and well-being. Now, in choosing the other one, which is to become angry and assertive, it serves as well because obviously as you walk away from that experience feeling discombobulated, chances are it hasn't changed how they feel because they've dealt with it all the time. But in terms of your own experience, you're able to go, no, that's not what I want. What I'm wanting is to sustain my inner peace and be more attuned to intuition and inspiration under those sort of situations. I can be grateful for that experience because it's helped to remind me about what's important to me. So you see, even if you go down the angry path, there's still an opportunity to retrieve and get value out of it in terms of returning to your place of inner peace. Life presents us with those sorts of situations all of the time, and based on the idea of wanting to achieve enlightenment, or as the Christians would make reference to, wanting to find the kingdom of heaven, the only way that that can be achieved, enlightenment or the kingdom of heaven, is if forgiveness and mercy is a way of life. In other words, these are the ways of approaching moment by moment those situations that cause us to lose our peace, where we have the opportunity to be able to remember that we have a choice and we can selectively remember or engage what's going on through the context of, in this particular case, turning the other cheek. Thanks for taking the time to be a part of this series on forgiveness, and we'll have another blog next month that will explore yet another one of the facets of forgiveness. If you'd like to subscribe to the e-zine where these blogs come out each month, please go to eapmentor.com and you'll be able to subscribe there. Go to @THECFWM and that will take you to our Facebook page. The beauty about going there is there's lots of really good stuff on mindfulness that you might find helpful. If mindfulness is a way of life that you're choosing to adopt, there's lots of really good suggestions there each week that may help to serve you. Thanks for listening, and I'll speak to you again soon. Bye.